In May and June of 2022, Kathy and I decided to take a trip across the pond with old friends and new friends and have some new adventures. We first went to London and enjoyed the city. It's always good to be back. And we also met up and stayed with Kathy's cousin Steve, who's a wonderful guy. Got to enjoy some good eats and some good beer. We also got to see some of their old haunts where they grew up and, of course, experienced some London rain. And then it was time to head on a train through the Channel. We had a great time on the train catching up with Steve, and of course we were silly because you can't not be silly with our cousin Steve. We arrived in Bruges. Oh my God, what a gorgeous city. This is a view from our hotel window, and our hotel was absolutely beautiful. As the rest of our tour group was arriving into town, Kathy and I spent quite a bit of time enjoying Bruges and just amazed at how incredibly gorgeous this place is. We met up with Arjun and Gloria and had some chicken and mussels. It was awesome. We then met up with Steve, who was staying at a hotel by this beautiful canal and quiet little part of town to get caught up again. Okay, actually to drink more beer. Then we met up with a guide and were taken to a chocolate factory where we got to not only see chocolate being made, but get it explained to us how Belgian chocolate is made, and we got to taste some too, of course.
So this is the oldest chocolate house in town, established in 1950.
And then it was off to a brewery to see Belgian beer being made, and of course more tasting. We then walked around town a bit more, and we were able to get on a canal boat and take a little tour from a water standpoint, which was, again, like a fairy tale town, this place. It's unbelievable. Considering this town was established in 1182, it just inspires awe. And we had to duck our heads a few times. Swans are so important in Belgium because of a story from the 13th century where a girl refused to marry the man that her father had picked out for her. So while she sat in a cellar of her house, she was visited by two swans that would keep her company. And once out of her prison, she left the city of fortune so that it would take care of the offspring of the gentle animal couple for the rest of time. We also saw lots of Canadian geese and their babies, and this little baby, and a lot of coots and their babies. And then we spent the rest of the day just enjoying Bruges and all it had to offer.
No, I wasn't embarrassed. I just think that's fucking hilarious. The thing is, they wouldn't even know either. Like, because I was just saying loads of random shit.
We said goodbye to Cousin Steve, and it was time to head to our boat. The Princess Royal was originally a sea-going vessel, and now is turned into a premium barge with 16 cabins, a wonderful dining area, of course a bar, where wine flowed all the time. And it's an absolutely gorgeous ship. Kathy and I checked into suite number 1. We converted our twin beds actually to a double bed. We hope they wouldn't mind. Hey, Skipper. We were able to visit the Half Moon Brewery, and this is what they told us. Beneath the gilded spires and medieval cobblestone streets of Bruges lies a 2-mile pipeline of beer. This pipeline transports beer from one of the country's oldest still operating breweries in the center of town to its bottling plant on the outskirts. And then we were off on the first leg of our adventure. We had an itinerary every day, and while a group went off biking, a few of us stayed on board, and we were able to hang out with the captain.
I can start with that one, necessarily.
If you want.
No, it is the bridge. For that was the first bridge.
Okay, yeah, you can turn it.
No, not yet.
Half an hour. Oh, no.
It's a ghost whale.
Oh, there you go.
Very good. Well, the bicycle group headed off to Ghent, where we would meet them later in the afternoon. We hung out and watched the beautiful scenery go by and went through a few drawbridges. We enjoyed the sun and the breezes and had some lunch on the deck. We docked in Ghent and we're all able to roam the city, and oh gosh, there's no bad pictures that you can take there. It's really incredible. And of course, lots of beers to choose from. History on the architecture: when you see two swans facing each other, that's meant to signify love. When you see them facing away, that's meant to indicate that that building once used to be a house where love was bought and sold. Ghent was established in 630, and it's said that nowhere else does one find so much history per square meter than Ghent. And I would say there are probably more Belgian waffle places per square meter too. Among its beautiful architecture, Ghent is known for its medieval monasteries and Gothic churches. Along its canals, Ghent is home to 653 restaurants, 620 cafes, and 250 kinds of beer. Back on the boat that night, we were treated to a lesson in chocolates. And of course, we tasted quite a lot.
I never experienced any of my guests not eating all the chocolates in one night, so it's not gonna happen. Okay, so feel free to try any of.
Full of chocolate, Japke then talked to us about tomorrow's activities.
Like that, and which is also like why we go through the Amazon when we sail on it. And tomorrow we cut off the route. The day after, when we cycle to Antwerp, will be mainly along the Scheldt River, because then it's a little straighter, and we can actually enjoy everything next to the river.
The next day, the boat headed to Saint-Amans while we biked. Here's some of the countryside that we went through. And here we stopped to take one of our first water ferry rides.
You're not in the market for that.
Somebody riding along here on their bike.
I might just adjust it first like this.
Seen any ferries around here?
Yeah. Okay, everyone, listen up. So when there's ships coming here, please take a bike on the boat. And when we're getting off, you just get a bike. It doesn't matter whose bike it is. Once we get to the top, we'll check whether or not everyone has his own bike. But it makes it a little fun.
Oh, really? What is the word?
Gas.
Gas? Gas.
Cheers. Jesus, gas.
Jesus, guys.
Say
For
cheese.
cheers, it's cool.
Cheese. Gosh.
Cheese. Gas.
Oh, here we go.
And then it was time to approach our first lock.
And if there's a boat in the lock, we have to get the bikes up there.
Ah.
So let's hope there's no boat coming.
We got back to the boat in time to go visit the St. Amand's Church. And then it was time to get a lesson on Belgian beer.
Before the First World War, we had 3,200 breweries in Belgium. 3,200. That means almost every village had at least one brewery, right? After the Second World War, it went down to 700. Why? Because the Zot. I'm sure you saw it at in Bruges. It's the famous beer. It's the brewery in the city center.
Yeah.
And they have a pipeline of 3 kilometers going from the new brewery to the city brewery.
And yes, we tried smoked beer.
And now I'm first gonna add some
You
smoke.
smoke the glass first, and then you pour in while
The
the
oak
smoke's
one.
still in it. Oh my god, this is fabulous.
If you don't like smokers, then you might not like it.
Beautiful. Well, you really know how to do that. Go ahead.
Well, whoever
Raise
takes it,
raise- yeah.
somebody- Robert, did you want that first?
Can I try one?
It was awesome. The next day, the barge headed to Antwerp. Yes, Antwerp has amazing architecture, but they also have this, and lots of it. I test drove a car while I was there too. The Antwerp train station, one of the 5 most beautiful stations in the world, and it truly is. So you walk into this place and you think, is it a museum? Is it some rich person's home? But no. It's a chocolate store with chocolate statues that are bigger than my head.
Oh my, I want to buy everything in here.
We ate at a restaurant, which translates to the 11th commandment. And if you're at all intimidated by religion, you might not want to hang out here. But it was awesome. The next day, our boat was off to Dordrecht. Our bicycle trip that day was probably about 35 kilometers, something like that. Right after we saw these wonderful horses, it started to rain, but no worries, we took shelter.
Peter,
Ja.
die toren die had toch voorheen een deur voor de ingang, of niet? Die toren die had voorheen een deur, dacht ik.
Ja.
Is weg. Nu kan je gewoon naar boven. Voorheen moest je betalen volgens mij.
Oh, ja, je moet ook een stuk.
Did you bring this rain, Peter?
This is the way they say welcome in Holland. Bluff! Rain.
They said the rain came from Belgium.
No.
I like you. Roveren. There's a sign behind us as well, so you can check if I tell you the truth. This has been here since 1628, give or take, and it is actually one of the 13 forts, part of a waterlinie, and a linie is a defense line. You can see there's a lot of forts and they are all working together, and it's a line that goes from here all the way to the German border, so it's over 150 kilometers. And the way they used to defend our country, and this is one of the oldest ones that exists, we will actually see more of them this week, more of these defense lines, but the way they used to defend it is to flood the fields around these forts. But have you got any idea what kind of depth they would flood it to?
2 feet.
Pardon?
2 feet.
Yeah, roughly. It would be about chest height, because of the fact that it's difficult to wade through that depth, and you can't put a proper ship in that depth.
Are you ready for the Aardbeien automat?
They just seem so delicious. How's your trip so far?
Fabulous.
And what is your favorite part of this whole trip?
The strawberries.
We see one being dissected right now. What do you say?
Are these Netherlands or Belgian strawberries?
Depends on who you ask.
Asparagus as well. There's a little farm shop.
Okay, here's Peter
The new honesty boxes.
working the machine. Oh my goodness.
Here we go. Want a little strawberries?
Stand in front of the machine.
Absolutely.
In front of the machine. Here.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the machine.
The Belgian paid for it.
That's crazy.
Those are before 5:30 at the bar, because I will move away from the bar by 5:30 to tell you something.
What do you think about our trip so far?
I love the trip so far. It's challenging, but it's just enough.
What is your favorite part so far?
The sunny day that we got on Wednesday, the countryside was beautiful. Everything
Oh,
was
that's
wonderful.
fantastic.
Exactly right. No rain.
I love it. Thank you. What do you think so far of this trip?
We are doing fabulous, and we are eating a lot of food, drinking a lot of food, making great friends. We're having a good time.
What's your favorite part of this trip so far? And don't say Bob on the
My favorite
cannon.
moment of the trip was when Grayson asked if Robert had used the spoon yet, because he didn't want to use it if Robert had already used it. That's my favorite moment.
I love it.
And after what we all agreed were the best tasting strawberries we'd ever had, we were back out on the road. It's important to note that the infrastructure the Dutch have for cycling is phenomenal. There are over 33,000 kilometers of dedicated cycling paths, and that doesn't include streets with cars. In Amsterdam, for instance, there are 72,000 bicyclists on the road in the morning, and that's twice as many as cars. This bridge, for example, has a bicycle lane that's just about as wide as the car lane. We arrived back at our boat again. It was a nice sight to see, so we could rest our feet and our butts.
The other bartender wouldn't let me have it with us. He wouldn't serve it. What? Got it.
You want to put ice in a scotch like that?
While waiting for dinner, we got to experience the world's largest lock, which is 500 meters long, 68 meters wide, and 17.8 meters deep.
Oh, it's awesome.
The way the lock works is boats enter the lock at, for instance, in this case, the lower level. The lock gates and lower sluices close. That chamber gets watertight. The upper sluices are then opened, allowing the water to enter the lock, and by gravity, the boats all rise up. And when the water level in the lock is the same as it is upstream, then the upper gates are open and the boats continue on their journey. And how do you pronounce the name of the lock we just went through?
The Volkerakssluis. And Willemstad is coming up right now.
Back on our bikes, we got to enjoy this lush, beautiful countryside again. We did get caught in some rain, but it was all worth it. And we got back to the boat in time to have an incredible dinner again. And the next morning, we were ready for a new adventure. Stopped at another water taxi to cross over the Nord River, which is actually a finger of the Rhine River. Where were we headed next? Does this give you a clue?
Oh, look at all those ducks.
And then Japke made us laugh.
Pretty shitty weather day to visit a windmill. Fantastic to ride a bike, but there is no wind. So it's not going to turn. I can tell you that already, because we've got Beaufort 0 right now. Like there's no wind whatsoever. But to turn the top of the windmill, let's say it like this: a windmill, you can manage it with one person. A miller back in the day was paid by the people living in the polder, the farmers that would want to have the level at the right height. Like I said, if you pump out too much, the land gets too dry. If you don't pump out enough, it gets swampy and the cow's feet will sink into it, or you can't like grow anything. So a miller actually was able, like the minute he needed to read the weather, he needed to check whether or not the water was high enough or not too low.
Village of the Oplasserwaard. So every windmill around Kinderdijk, they pump their water in two basins. So let's say 40 water pumping windmills pump their water to the windmills of Kinderdijk in two basins, and these windmills, the windmills on the other side of the water, the wooden ones, they pump the east side, and the brick ones the west side.
Where are we going?
We're going in a windmill.
Okay, here we go. Oh my lord. Here are the clogs when you go outside.
Oh, that's when you go out. Yeah.
fishing nets. That's why you have to go down backwards. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, here's the family. Oh. Middle floor. This one's even steeper. Is it my imagination or does it still smell smoky in here? More cows and more cobblestones. Another ferry ride, and we were on our way into Schoonhoven for dinner. Car. This is Bouwek, one of the ship's crew, in between duties, and it was so pleasant.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you what we have for dinner tonight. We're going to start with a salad. I made a salad with goat cheese. It's in the oven, and it's on top. I have some salty nuts, because on the salad I have pumpkin, but I really sliced it very thin, and I put it in a honey marinade since this morning, 7 o'clock. So it's going to be a lovely sweet taste of the pumpkin, and also with the honey that's on top, and the salty nuts makes a beautiful taste. For dinner, for the main course, we're gonna eat fish. Okay? No. We're gonna eat steak.
Oh, steak.
So we have steak with a beautiful sauce with mushrooms, and I have ratatouille. Ratatouille is an Italian dish with a lot of different kind of vegetables, and it's a movie. And it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Yes. About a chef. Yeah, about a chef. Yeah. It's also a little.
Yeah.
So, with the ratatouille, I have all kinds of different vegetables with some tomato and onions and garlic. So it's perfect. I have made from the potatoes not a mash, but a puree. So it's a very fine thing with a lot of cream and some little bit of cheese in it. So, and for dessert, I made a mango dessert. White chocolate mousse and some fresh mango. So, I hope you enjoy it.
Now you know why I'm happy she's back.
and it was over the top fabulous. While the bicycle group was getting ready for their last leg to Amsterdam, I got to meet this adorable dog whose breed name I could not pronounce. And while Kathy and Gloria and the rest of them went off biking, a few of us stayed on the ship. I really wanted to have this moment where it was sunny and I could sit out on the deck and just watch the scenery go by and read a really good book. It was perfect. Here we are arriving into Amsterdam, and it's interesting to note that there are over 100 kilometers or 60 miles of canals in Amsterdam. There are 1,500 bridges. It's amazing. And of course, the ever-present and amazing bicycle culture. And along with the bicycle culture is the bicycle parking infrastructure, which is staggering. There were so many more experiences than I could get into this video, but needless to say, we had an incredible time, and the sights were wonderful, the experience was wonderful, so was the Belgian chocolate and the Belgian waffles and the beer, and even a little bit of European licorice came home with us. So we bid adieu to the beautiful countries of Belgium and the Netherlands, but we vow to come back.
And last night
Grayson,
yes.
What do you think about this trip so far?
Outstanding.
What's your favorite part of the trip?
Oh man, I don't even know what to say. Probably
The smoky beer?
Ooh, that was good. That was a nice. That was
Strawberries?
A nice treat. Strawberries? I think those are like up there. I think the strawberries are up there. But honestly, I think my favorite part is meeting Miss Lisa. Right?
Oh,
yes.